Princess Aralea stepped off the shuttle ramp with the graceful confidence of someone raised to be admired. Her long silver cloak flowed behind her as she walked into the wide, metal-lined arrival hall of Harkon 7 Frontier Station. Diplomats, officers, and staff bowed as she passed, and she acknowledged each one with a polite nod. She had visited many stations, but Harkon 7 held a special place in the Dominion. It was where alien species met, traded, argued, and sometimes even learned to trust one another. Behind her walked her assigned research team, a group of skilled scholars and scientists. And among them was the one person she hardly noticed at all, Marcus Vale, the human apprentice xenobiologist. Marcus did not look impressive. He wore a simple field jacket, carried a datapad under one arm, and had brown hair that never stayed in place. His posture was relaxed, almost casual, as if he were simply out for a walk instead of accompanying a royal delegation. Aralea glanced at him only once, long enough to confirm he was exactly as her advisors had described. Harmless, inexperienced, and completely ordinary. She assumed he had been added to her delegation only because the Terran Union insisted on placing young representatives everywhere these days. She had nothing against humans, of course. They were polite enough, curious, and eager to join the larger galactic community. But to her, they seemed softer than most species. No natural armor, no claws, no psychic abilities, no enhanced strength. They still depended on machines for half the things other species could do naturally. She didn't dislike them, she simply didn't expect much from them. Yet, something strange happened as they moved through the station. Many of the alien workers they passed gave Marcus quiet, cautious, looks quick, darting glances, as if they were measuring something about him. A few even stepped aside when he approached. Marcus never reacted. He simply kept walking, eyes moving calmly over the busy hall, studying everything in sight. Aralea thought the aliens were just startled by the humans' presence. Maybe they weren't used to Terrans. Or maybe Marcus looked lost and out of place, and they felt awkward about it. Either way, she didn't dwell on it. There were more important matters to focus on. Her visit was meant to strengthen the cooperation between the Dominion and the frontier colonies, especially after recent rumors of strange activity on the uncharted moons nearby. During the welcoming briefing, the station commander, a tall, four-armed Drathan, explained the latest updates. Everything was routine until a sharp alarm rang through the room. The lights shifted to a pulsing amber warning. A technician rushed forward with a report. "Princess, Commander," the technician said, voice tense. "We received a distress signal from Echo Moon 5. The message is broken, but it sounds like an expedition team was attacked. Signal strength is weakening." The room filled with worried murmurs. Echo Moon 5 was known for its dangerous landscape, crystalline forests that distorted sound and confused navigation. Aralea had read about the moon. It was considered hazardous even for trained explorers. Still, an attack? That was unusual. She straightened, her voice calm but firm. "Prepare a scouting team. We will investigate." Some of her advisors immediately protested. "Your Highness, the moon is unstable. It is not safe for a royal." Aralea lifted a hand, silencing them. She didn't notice Marcus watching her with quiet interest, as if he had expected this choice. Soon, the shuttle was loaded with supplies, scanners, and a small security squad. The princess stepped aboard without hesitation. Her team followed. Marcus took a seat near the back, strapped in, and opened his datapad as if preparing for a normal field survey instead of a rescue mission. The shuttle descended through a thick layer of mist and landed on uneven ground. When the doors opened, everyone felt the strange atmosphere of Echo Moon 5 immediately. The forest around them shimmered with tall crystal formations that glowed faintly under the moon's light. The air hummed with a low vibration. Not quite a sound, but something that pressed subtly against their ears. Every small noise, footsteps, breathing, equipment checks, echoed unnaturally far into the distance. Aralea's guards looked uneasy. Even seasoned soldiers disliked this place. "Stay close," the lead guard warned. As they moved deeper into the crystalline trees, the light shifted colors, refracted through the sharp crystalline branches. The sound distortion grew stronger. Every whisper bounced back a little too late, a little too sharp, making it hard to tell direction. Marcus walked near the center of the group, scanning crystal samples and terrain shifts with calm focus. Aralea noticed he seemed less unsettled than the others. He didn't flinch at the echoing noises or the flickers of light. His face stayed still, thoughtful, almost analytical. After 20 minutes, they found the first sign of the missing team. A damaged survey drone, half buried under shattered crystal pieces. Something had struck it hard. The edges were bent inward, like it had been hit by something powerful, something with sharp force and no hesitation. "Weapons?" one guard asked. "No," Marcus said quietly, without looking up from his scan. "Not artificial damage. This is organic force." The guards stared at him, surprised he spoke so confidently. Aralea noticed it too. For someone labeled as an apprentice, he sounded far too experienced. The group continued forward, tension growing with every step. The distorted echoes played tricks on their ears. Sometimes it sounded like footsteps behind them, sometimes like whispers far ahead. The soldiers gripped their weapons more tightly. Then the forest went silent. No echoes, no hum, just stillness. Aralea felt the shift immediately. Something was watching them. A low, strange resonance rippled through the air, brushing against their minds. It wasn't sound. It wasn't sight. It was something deeper, a presence that pushed fear forward like a cold hand pressing on the chest. Her guards froze, eyes widening in panic. Aralea felt a chill crawl up her spine. But Marcus didn't move. He stood perfectly still, shoulders relaxed, looking into the dark space between the crystals as if studying a curious animal. The fear pressure that overwhelmed the others didn't seem to reach him at all. Or maybe it did and he simply refused to react. A shadow shifted between the crystal trunks. A creature stepped into view. Tall, thin, with jagged limbs and black, glass-like eyes. Its body vibrated with the same resonance that filled the forest. Aralea recognized it from research reports. A Vroth, one of the moon's apex predators. Her guards stumbled backward in terror. The creature lunged. Aralea barely had time to gasp before Marcus moved. His hands shot out with speed that did not match his quiet nature. He grabbed a shock baton from a guard's belt in one smooth motion, stepped forward, and struck the creature at precisely the right spot on its throat joint. The Vroth collapsed with a sharp crack of disrupted resonance. Everyone stared at Marcus. He remained calm, steady, even slightly annoyed at the creature's timing. Aralea looked at him in shock. He was no ordinary apprentice. And now, she finally realized it. The forest was silent after the creature fell. Even the strange echoes seemed to pause, as if the moon itself waited to see what would happen next. Princess Aralea stared at Marcus, her breath caught in her throat. The guards, still trembling from the psychic pressure, looked between the stunned predator and the calm human who had brought it down with a single focused strike. Marcus quietly returned the shock baton to the guard he had taken it from. His movements were steady, controlled, almost casual. It was as if he had done nothing unusual at all. But to everyone watching, his actions had shattered every assumption they had made about him. Aralea stepped forward, still shocked. Marcus raised a hand gently, signaling her to stay quiet. His eyes weren't on her. They were scanning the trees around them. His expression changed slightly. Not with fear, but with calculation. "That was a scout," he said softly. "There are more." The guards stiffened. One of them whispered, "We need to return to the shuttle." Marcus shook his head. "If we run now, they'll track us easily. The Vroth hunt by echo resonance. Movement creates strong trails." Aralea watched him with growing curiosity. He spoke like someone who knew these creatures well. But that made no sense. No one knew the Vroth well. Most species avoided this moon entirely. Then what do we do? She asked. We stay calm, Marcus replied. They test their prey. The second wave will try to push fear into us. If we don't break, they adjust their strategy. The guards looked at him as if he were speaking another language. To them, the Vroth were nightmare creatures, silent, fast, intelligent, and able to project fear with unnatural strength. Yet this human apprentice analyzed them like an academic puzzle. Suddenly, the eerie resonance returned. It rolled through the forest like a cold pulse, washing over the team. The guards tensed again, gripping their weapons. Even Aralea felt a deep pressure settle into her chest, as if her own heartbeat were echoing back at her too loudly. Marcus stepped forward, placing himself between the team and the dark crystal growths where shadows moved. He breathed in slowly, then exhaled. The resonance thickened. And yet, Marcus did not flinch. The Vroth appeared, 3 of them this time, gliding out from behind the glowing crystal trunks. They moved like liquid shadows, their limbs shifting with unnatural fluidity. Their eyes reflected the dim light, sharp and emotionless. The guards raised their weapons, hands shaking. Aralea could feel their fear rising. The resonance fed on it, twisted it, amplified it. Her own pulse quickened as the creatures stepped closer. Then she noticed something strange. The predators were not focused on the entire group. They were all watching Marcus. He stood completely still, shoulders relaxed, head slightly tilted, as if he were listening to music instead of facing apex hunters. The Vroth moved slowly around him, circling, analyzing. Their resonance changed tone, shifting from pressure to curiosity. Aralea suddenly understood what she was seeing. The Vroth were testing him, but they were also hesitating. Apex predators did not hesitate. They struck fast, and without doubt. But with Marcus, they seemed uncertain. He met their gaze calmly. Your patterns are predictable, he murmured, almost too softly for the others to hear. You push fear to see where the mind breaks. But human minds don't break the way you expect. The Vroth stopped. All 3 of them froze in strange, sharp poses. Their resonance faltered for a moment, then pulsed again, but weaker this time. It was like a storm losing strength before hitting the ground. Marcus took a slow step forward, and the Vroth took a step back. Aralea's eyes widened. Guards whispered in disbelief. The apex predators of Echo Moon, 5 notorious for attacking anything that entered their territory, were retreating from a single human. Marcus lowered his voice. Humans evolved under pressure. We grew up learning not to freeze when something hunted us. We learned to look back. One of the Vroth clicked its jagged mandibles, uncertain. Marcus leaned slightly toward it, meeting its gaze, head on. Go, he said. The forest vibrated with a sudden shift. The Vroth pulled back, disappearing between the crystal trunks with swift, quiet movements. Within seconds, the forest was empty again. The resonance faded away as if the moon itself exhaled. The guards sagged in relief, some collapsing to their knees. One whispered, "By the stars! What just happened?" Marcus looked down at the tracks the Vroth left behind, studying them. They decided we weren't worth the effort. They ran, another guard said. Predators don't run. They do, Marcus replied simply. When something makes them doubt their place on the food chain. Aralea approached him slowly, trying to understand the human who suddenly seemed like an entirely different person. Marcus, you said their patterns were predictable. How do you know that? Humans have never studied them at this level. He finally looked at her directly. His eyes were calm, but there was something deeper behind them. Something quietly intense. I learned about creatures like them before I ever stepped off Earth. That doesn't explain. He interrupted gently. Earth has predators too. Different forms, but similar instincts. Humans survived, Because we learned to read those instincts. We learned when to fight, and when to stare them down. One guard shook his head. I thought humans were peaceful. Marcus gave a small, almost sad smile. We are, but peaceful doesn't mean defenseless. They continued deeper into the forest to find the missing expedition team. Now the air felt lighter, as if the moon itself acknowledged Marcus's presence. The echoes no longer pressed fear on them. The crystals shimmered with softer light, and the vibrations felt more like distant hums than threats. At last, they found the missing explorers hiding inside a natural cave formed by overlapping crystal pillars. The team was shaken and exhausted, but alive. When the guards helped them out, the explorers kept glancing nervously at Marcus. One finally whispered, "The creatures. They wouldn't come near us anymore." Something scared them off. Aralea looked at Marcus, and Marcus looked away. As they escorted the survivors back toward the shuttle, Aralea walked beside the human, who was not what he seemed. He did not boast, did not brag, did not explain. He simply walked quietly, scanning the environment for danger, as if this were routine for him. The princess felt a new question forming in her mind, one she had never considered asking a human before. What else are they hiding? And who, exactly, was Marcus Vale? The walk back toward the shuttle should have felt safer, but the silence of the forest brought a different kind of tension. Princess Aralea kept glancing at Marcus, trying to understand him. The guards whispered to one another when they thought he wasn't listening. Even the rescued explorers kept close together, casting uneasy looks into the trees. Marcus acted as if nothing unusual had happened. He walked at the front of the group, scanning the crystal formations with that same calm, focused gaze. He made no mention of the Vroth or how they had stepped back from him. But the forest had changed after that moment. The echoes sounded softer. The shadows seemed to keep their distance, and every creature hidden among the crystals remained out of sight. Aralea finally decided to speak. She moved closer to Marcus, keeping her voice low. You knew. They were coming, before we even saw them. I heard the resonance shift, he replied without looking away from the path. They push fear forward when they prepare to attack. The sound pattern changes. Rossum, Russum. That's not something an apprentice should know. No, he agreed quietly. It's not. They continued walking. The air felt heavier, not with danger this time, but with unspoken questions. Aralea wasn't used to being uncertain. She was a princess of the Dominion, raised with knowledge and training. Yet beside Marcus, she felt like a student facing a teacher whose subject she had never imagined. She tried again. Back there, the Vroth stepped away from you. That has not happened in any recorded encounter. They are apex predators. They never retreat. Marcus slowed slightly. Everything retreats from something. But what did they see in you? Aralea asked. This time, he looked at her. His eyes were steady, thoughtful, and strangely old for someone his age. A behavior they didn't understand. Predators dislike unknown risks. Aralea wanted to press further, but a guard suddenly hurried toward them from the rear. Marcus turned instantly, all softness vanishing from his face. How many? 8, maybe more. Marcus frowned. They're testing us again. Stay close to the center. Don't break formation. The group tightened their ranks. The rescued expedition members trembled, but they obeyed. The guards lifted their weapons, hands shaking. Aralea felt the familiar pressure of the Vroth resonance begin to gather again, pushing into their minds. But something was different this time. The fear felt thinner, less sharp. It was as if the Vroth were unsure. Aralea could sense their hesitation through the strange, psychic waves. Marcus stood tall. His shoulders were relaxed, but his stance was firm, like someone ready for a storm he had weathered many times. He looked into the shifting crystal shadows, and his voice dropped to a low, controlled tone. Not this time, he murmured. A sudden echo cracked through the trees. The sound bounced back in unnatural ways, multiplying into dozens of sharp reflections. The guards flinched. One of the explorers crouched down, covering his ears. Marcus didn't move. The Vroth emerged this time, not just 3, but many. Their slender limbs glinted with crystalline dust. Their black eyes locked onto Marcus and the group behind him. They spread out, circling, trying to push fear harder. Aralea felt the pressure grow, but it wasn't overwhelming like before. It pulsed, like a wave. Sharp, but fading too quickly. Marcus took a single step forward. The Vroth froze again. Aralea could hardly believe what she was witnessing. The predators seemed to shrink back. Not physically, but in presence. Their psychic resonance wavered, uncertain and unstable. Marcus raised his hand slowly, fingers slightly spread. It wasn't a threat. It was more like a signal. "Stay where you are," he said softly. The air vibrated. The predators clicked their mandibles in confusion. One creature on the left attempted to push fear forward again, but Marcus faced it directly. His eyes narrowed, and the creature stepped back. Aralea could almost feel the shift in power. The Vroth were no longer hunting. They were watching, evaluating, rethinking. Marcus's voice came out steady and calm. "You misjudged us the first time. Humans don't run from fear. We understand it. We control it." The Vroth leader, a larger one with glowing lines across its limbs, tilted its head. It emitted a resonance pulse, but it was softer, more curious than aggressive. Marcus answered in a strange way. He slowed his breathing, adjusted his stance, and let his own heartbeat guide his next step. It was almost like he was speaking without words, using posture and presence the same way the Vroth used resonance. Aralea watched in silent awe. The Vroth leader stepped back. The others followed, slowly fading into the trees one by one. Their echoes grew distant, then vanished entirely. Only when the last one was gone did Marcus finally relax his shoulders. The guards let out shaky breaths. One whispered, "I thought we were done for." "They were testing boundaries," Marcus replied. "Now they know ours." Aralea waited until everyone began walking again before she spoke. "Marcus, you communicate with them, not with language, but with something else. Behavior," he said. "Instinct. Presence. That is not something you learn from books." "No," he agreed. "It isn't." She stopped walking. "Who are you really?" Marcus paused. The group continued ahead, giving them space. The crystals glowed faintly, reflecting quiet light between them. He turned to her. "I'm human." "That is not an answer." He looked away toward the forest, where the Vroth had disappeared. "Humans grew up on a world full of threats. We learned to read danger before it reached us. We learned when to stand our ground. Sometimes, predators understand that better than people." "That still doesn't explain your skill," she insisted. He hesitated, then sighed. "I'm not supposed to talk about it. Terran policy keeps certain things quiet." Aralea folded her arms. "I am a princess. I can demand answers." Marcus shook his head gently. "Some answers aren't mine to give." She stared at him for a long moment. Frustration and curiosity battling within her. She could feel he wasn't trying to hide for selfish reasons. He was protecting something bigger. Before she could speak again, the ground ahead brightened. The shuttle came into view through the trees, its lights cutting through the mist. Relief washed through the group. As they approached, the station commander's voice crackled through the comm. "Princess Aralea, we are tracking multiple large signatures moving around your position. Are you under attack?" Marcus lifted the comm device before she could answer. "Negative. The predators have disengaged." "Disengaged?" The commander repeated, confused. Marcus met Aralea's eyes as he replied. They stepped back. Aralea watched him in silence. Whoever he truly was, he had just changed everything she thought she knew about humans. And the moon's deadliest creatures had recognized it before she did. The shuttle door closed with a soft hiss as Princess Aralea and her team stepped inside. The rescued explorers were quickly guided to the medical seats, while the guards checked their equipment with shaky hands. No one spoke at first. The silence was heavy, almost unreal, as if the moment they escaped the forest, their minds struggled to make sense of everything that had happened. Marcus took a seat near the window, his posture straight but relaxed. He wiped a light layer of crystal dust from his gloves, as though he had simply completed an ordinary research task. Aralea watched him with narrowed eyes. Nothing about his behavior matched the actions she had seen on the moon. He had faced apex predators, like someone who had done it 100 times before. Maybe more. He had stood his ground calmly, while others could barely breathe. Aralea approached him slowly, almost carefully. "Marcus," she said, keeping her tone even. "I want the truth now." "No," half answers. He looked up, polite as always. "Of course, Princess. What do you want to know?" "Everything," she replied. "Who you are. What you really are. How you made those creatures retreat. Why you weren't afraid. Why you speak like an expert when you're supposed to be an apprentice. And why every alien on the station looked at you like they knew something I didn't." Marcus held her gaze for a long moment. His eyes were calm, steady, thoughtful. Finally, he nodded. "All right. I'll tell you what I can. Thanks for watching. We're keyed. Telek for more Ran. And the moan. I'll tell you what I can." The shuttle lifted off, engines humming softly as they left the moon's surface. Through the window, the crystal forest shimmered like a field of stars. The moment was almost peaceful. Yet Aralea felt her heartbeat quicken. She sensed she was about to learn something important. Something that would change the way she saw humans forever. Marcus leaned back slightly. "My official role is apprentice xenobiologist. That part is true. I did study alien biology. But it's not the whole story." One of the guards quietly turned to listen. Even the pilot kept the shuttle steady, clearly hoping not to miss anything. Marcus continued, speaking in slow, simple words. "Humans evolved on a planet full of danger. Not just one predator species. Many. Fast ones, silent ones, ones that hunted in packs, ones that hid until the perfect moment. We did not grow stronger bodies or natural armor. We grew stronger minds. We learned to think, to adapt, to read behavior faster than creatures twice our size." Aralea listened closely, but she felt he wasn't telling her the part she truly wanted to know. "So humans are good survivors," she said. "We already know this." Marcus shook his head gently. "Survival is only the surface. The Terran Union has special training programs. Deep training. Old training. They are not public. Not because they are dangerous, but because they show a part of humanity that other species might misunderstand." Aralea's eyes narrowed. "Misunderstand in what way?" Marcus hesitated. He looked down at his glove, smoothing a crease as if choosing his words carefully. "Many species think humans are harmless, emotional, social, curious. That is true. But there is another side to us. A quiet side. A patient side. A side shaped by thousands of years of facing danger without any natural weapons. The Terrans trained certain people to handle environments where instinct matters more than technology." Aralea felt a chill. "Special forces?" Marcus smiled faintly. "No. Not soldiers. Specialists. Observers. People who study predator behavior by becoming something predators hesitate to approach." The guard closest to them swallowed hard. Aralea could see the realization slowly forming on their faces. "You're one of them," she said softly. Marcus didn't deny it. "My assignment to your team had a purpose. Terran leadership wanted someone who could understand threats that others might misread. Someone who could protect without drawing attention. Someone who could let others underestimate him. Aralea stared at him. So you let me think you were just an apprentice. You treated me with kindness and respect, he said. But yes, I needed to appear harmless. Humans have learned that being underestimated is one of our strongest advantages. She sat down across from him, absorbing everything. Then what happened with the Vroth? How did you make them step back? Marcus took a slow breath. The Vroth hunt, by projecting fear. They read weakness. They search for panic. But when they pushed fear against us, I pushed something else back. What? She asked. Control, he said simply. Humans learned to control fear a long time ago. Not ignore it, understand it. The Vroth expect prey to flinch, freeze, or flee. When I didn't do any of those things, they questioned their position as predators. Aralea leaned forward. But why did they treat you differently? They reacted as if you were one of them. Marcus looked out the window, his reflection faintly visible against the stars. Because I let them see what humans truly are when we stop pretending to be soft. Aralea's breath caught. His voice wasn't threatening. It wasn't proud. It was simply honest. The shuttle engines lowered as they neared Harkin 7 station. Lights from the docking bay reflected across the hull, bathing the cabin in soft silver. Aralea spoke quietly. So humans have been hiding their real abilities. We don't hide, Marcus said. We just don't display them. Our strength isn't meant to intimidate. It's meant to protect. To keep peace. She studied him carefully. Does the Dominion know about this? Not officially, Marcus answered. Only a few governments do. And they respect the silence. Aralea shook her head slowly, trying to reorder her understanding of humanity. I thought humans were gentle newcomers. We are, Marcus replied. We choose peace. But peace doesn't mean weakness. The shuttle docked with a soft click. The doors opened. Station officials stood waiting, unaware of the storm of thoughts inside the princess's mind. Aralea rose to her feet. Marcus, thank you for saving everyone today. He gave her a small, almost shy smile. It's what humans do. We look out for each other. No, she said quietly. You looked out for all of us. Marcus didn't answer. He simply walked toward the exit, unnoticed by most, just as he preferred. But Aralea watched him, truly watched him, with new eyes. She now understood something important. Humanity was not what it appeared to be. And Marcus Vale was the quiet proof. Harkin 7 station felt different when the team returned. Word of the rescue had spread quickly, even though no official report had been released yet. The rescued explorers were escorted to the medical wing. The guards were taken for debriefing. Busy workers moved aside respectfully to let the princess pass. But their eyes kept drifting toward Marcus, some with curiosity, others with quiet caution. Marcus didn't react to any of it. He walked a step behind Princess Aralea, carrying the same datapad he had taken to the moon, as if the entire mission had been nothing more than routine fieldwork. His calm presence made it difficult for Aralea to believe he had stood alone against apex predators only hours before. She led him toward a private conference room. The door closed behind them with a soft, mechanical sound. The room was simple, filled only with a long table, soft lights, and a panoramic window showing the stars. Aralea stood near the window, hands resting lightly on the glass. Marcus, she said quietly, I have to report what happened. He nodded once. I expected that. But I don't know what to say, she admitted. If I tell the truth, people might panic. They will not understand what the Vroth saw in you. That's why Terrans prefer to stay quiet, Marcus said gently. Most species fear what they don't understand. She turned to face him. I don't fear you. Marcus gave a small smile. I know. But others will. She continued. They already look at you differently. And when word spreads that the Vroth stepped back from a human, it will cause questions, he finished. Aralea studied him carefully. His face was calm, open, honest, but she could sense something deeper, something steady, powerful, and old, even if he was young, a presence that predators recognized immediately. She took a slow breath. I want to know why humanity hides this part of itself. Marcus looked out the window at the stars. Because we want peace. When humans came to the galactic community, we arrived politely. We smiled. We tried to fit in. We didn't want to be seen as dangerous. We wanted partners, allies, friends. Do you think revealing your strength will destroy that? Aralea asked. It could. Marcus answered softly. Some species would misunderstand and think humans are trying to intimidate them. Others would feel threatened. And predators, they can sense competition. Aralea moved closer. But you saved lives today. That isn't something to hide. Marcus lowered his voice. Saving lives is easy. Knowing how others will react afterward is the real challenge. People fear the unknown. And humans, we are more unknown than anyone realized. She understood his meaning. The galaxy saw humans as curious explorers and talkative newcomers. They had no claws, no natural armor, no psychic gifts. That made them seem harmless. But the Vroth, the deadliest predators of the moon, had sensed something completely different in Marcus. Aralea shook her head slowly. You shouldn't have to hide what you are. Strength isn't something to fear. It's something that should be respected. Marcus looked back at her, his expression soft. Respect is good. Fear is not. Before she could respond, the door chimed. One of her senior advisors stepped in, bowing quickly. Princess Aralea, the Dominion High Council wishes to speak with you immediately. Aralea nodded. Prepare the link. The advisor glanced once at Marcus, eyes uncertain, then stepped out to arrange the call. Aralea turned back to Marcus. The High Council will ask questions. They will want details. I need your help to explain what happened. I'll support whatever you choose to say, Marcus replied. But I won't reveal Terran's secrets. I hope you understand. I won't ask you to, she said softly. Moments later, the communication display flickered to life, showing the holographic forms of the Dominion High Council members, elder diplomats, seasoned leaders, and respected scholars. Their faces were serious. Princess Aralea, the High Consul began. We received the early report that your mission encountered hostile native wildlife. We request your full account. Aralea stood tall. We faced the Vroth. The attack was sudden. The creatures projected strong, fear-inducing resonance. Most of our guards were affected. Several council members murmured in concern. But we survived. She continued. And how did you accomplish that? The High Consul asked. The Vroth are known to overwhelm even trained soldiers. Aralea glanced at Marcus, then back at the council. Because someone on my team understood their behavior better than any of us realized. Marcus stood quietly at her side, saying nothing. The High Consul narrowed his eyes. Explain. Aralea spoke carefully. Human instinct and training are not what they appear. Marcus Vale recognized the creature's patterns and responded in a way that forced them to retreat. Retreat? A councilwoman repeated in disbelief. The Vroth do not retreat. They did, Aralea said firmly. They stepped back because Marcus made them hesitate. Marcus remained silent, not seeking attention or praise. The council whispered among themselves. The High Consul leaned forward. Humanity is capable of this? Aralea answered honestly. Humans are peaceful and cooperative, but they are also far stronger than we assumed. Not in body. She paused and looked at Marcus, but in something deeper. Marcus finally spoke, his voice controlled and respectful. Humans don't want conflict. We prefer connection, cooperation, and understanding. But if danger appears, we do not freeze. We adapt. That is all. The council stared at him, surprised by his simplicity. Aralea stepped forward. Marcus saved us because he did not let fear control him. And the predators recognized that. They sensed his confidence and chose not to attack. This is not something to fear. It is something to respect. Silence filled the room. Finally, the High Consul nodded slowly. We will review this matter carefully. For now, Princess, we commend you and your team for your bravery. And we acknowledge the actions of Marcus Vale. He paused. Humanity may be more complex than we believed. The holograms flickered off. Aralea exhaled. Marcus watched her calmly. You spoke well, he said. So did you, she replied. Now the Dominion knows the truth. Some of it, he corrected gently. She smiled. Enough. They left the room, walking side by side. Workers bowed as the princess passed. But their eyes drifted to Marcus again. This time, Aralea noticed something new in their expressions, not fear, not suspicion. Respect. As they reached a quiet hallway overlooking the stars, Aralea stopped and looked at Marcus. You changed the way the galaxy sees humans today. He shook his head lightly. I didn't do anything extraordinary. You did something no one else could, she insisted. You stood before a predator and made it step back. Marcus paused, thinking. Humans survived because we learned that fear is not the end. It's the beginning. It's where decisions matter. Aralea smiled softly. And you chose to protect us. Marcus returned the smile, small and sincere. That's what humans do. Dull. Dull. They stood together in the quiet glow of the station lights, watching distant stars shimmer. The galaxy had always underestimated humanity. But after what happened on Echo Moon 5, that would never happen again.